Hello, Namaskar, welcome you to the SAAR analysis. I am Chaman Nayak and here's my take. Today we are examining one of the most consensual public offering of the modern financial history. This is not merely the story of IPO, this is the story of how investors around the world are attempting to value the future itself. Well, the SpaceX, a company that transformed the space explorations from the government-led endeavors into a commercial, valuable industry, has reportedly attracted investors' demand of nearly $150 billion from its proposed IPO, almost double its targeted of $75 billion raise. Well, at first glance, the oversubscription rate was 2 times appeared to be an ordinary. But when the offering itself is among the largest and most anticipated in the history, those numbers tell a different story. Well, this reveals something very deeper. A belief that SpaceX is no longer simply a rocket company, a belief that it could become one of the most defining infrastructural platform of 21st century. And here's my take. This week, SpaceX launched a campaign designed to convince the investors that IPO is not merely an opportunity to participate in the successful company, but a gateway to attract trillions of dollars entirely in the new market. Let's think about it. Well, throughout the modern economic history, every great company has operated within the physical constraint of the earth. Factories requires land, data requires power, supply chain requires geography. Growth ultimately is limited to the planet itself. But SpaceX is presenting a radically different proposition, a future where economic expansion is no longer confined to Earth. It is the future where the orbit become infrastructure. It is the future where the space become an extension of the global economy. And the company's roadshow presentations reportedly emphasize the uniqueness of rocket launching business. And rightly so, over the past decade, SpaceX has accomplished one of the something that considered almost impossible. Well, it transformed the rocket launches from the rare, expensive government projects into repeatedly and increasingly scalable commercial services. Well, today, whether it is a satellite deployment or a national security mission or a scientific explorations or a futuristic lunar ambition, access to space is increasingly running through SpaceX. This dominance matters, and it truly matters because throughout the history, those who control the infrastructure often became more valuable than who simply use it. Yet in the rocket business, it is only a part of story. The larger narrative is Starlink, the larger narrative is artificial intelligence, the larger narrative is what comes the next. Well, SpaceX has reportedly highlights the straggling 23 million market opportunity ahead. Well, this figure is extraordinary, but understanding the logic behind it is very important. Well, artificial intelligence is becoming defining technology of our generation, yet AI faces a challenge, a computing power, energy consumptions, physical infrastructure constraint. Every major technology company is racing to solve this problem, and SpaceX believe it has answer that others don't, and that is space. Well, the company argues that it can escape the limitation of the earthbound business and use the space itself to build the AI compute capacity. Think about it. Imagine the data infrastructure unconstrained by territorial limitation. Imagine the orbital computing networks. Imagine the world where humanity's digital backbone is extended beyond atmosphere. Today it may sound ambitious, but so did the reusable rocket, so did the private spaceflight, so did the global satellite internet. Yet SpaceX delivered all three. And this is why investors are not merely buying its current revenue, they are buying into possibilities, they are buying into optionality, and perhaps most importantly, they are buying into the vision of a future that does not stop at Earth's horizon. But the real question is not whether SpaceX is a great company. The real question is whether the investors can accurately price a future that has never existed before. Because the SpaceX succeed, this IPO may not be remembered as a financial event. It may be remembered as one of the most capital market began funding humanity's next frontier. Well, thank you for joining me at this analysis. I am Chaman Nayak, and before I leave you with your thoughts tonight, consider this. If you had an opportunity to invest in a company attempting to build the infrastructure of the future, Would you focus on today's valuations, or would you focus on the world that could exist 20 years from now? Let me know your analysis in the comment sections. Till then, watch this analysis video and I will back with another episode. Till then, watch this.